All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Sunday Main Slate Show, talking all things DraftKings. Got the Stone ready to go, got SHIPIT Nation up, got Hoopster here, Title with me. Gonna break it all down. Week 14, Hoopster, I'll bring you in first, man. The season is moving along, but this is a good slate. I like this slate quite a bit. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, it'll be gone before we know it. I mean, week 14, I say it every week on all the shows, but man, the NFL season just seems to go by so fast. In terms of week 14, solid slate. I mean, I think there's quite a bit of strategy, roster construction stuff to talk through. So excited to break it down with you guys. The one thing that definitely stands out is these cheap running backs, and they're going to be very, very popular. And I think that's another very interesting talking point. Like, how do you play them? What do you do with the other guys who are no doubt going to come in with lower ownership, even the top end guys? I mean, I know a lot of people think, all right, well, Kamara's going to still get a ton. Barkley's still going to get a ton. I don't know, man. Those three running backs are going to soak up so much ownership at the position. So, yeah, we'll talk about it all. 10-game slate. I'm ready to rock and roll today.
I think there's going to be some people very mad today, Title, just because the chalk looks pretty good in some cases. And I think, some of it's going to hit. Obviously, it looks pretty good around the board, but there'll be different ways to construct it, like Hoop said, and we always do a good job, I think, talking through that. So excited when we get to the games to go through some thought process and ideas around roster construction. Free money Sunday, though, week 14. What's going on, man?
Yeah, very, very interesting slate ahead, obviously, with the three cheap running backs. But, I mean, there's plenty of good spend-up running backs, too. Running backs not a position you can miss on. The wide receivers, the Justin Jeffersons of the world, as cheap as ever, can definitely get them. But is he going to do anything? Tight ends feels like one of the rare weeks where it's – what are you laughing at, Hoop?
Oh, the Discord picture.
I don't know if you're something over here. Tight end. I think you can spend like the Brock Bowers and McBrides of the world. We talked extensively on the cast show. Compare those guys to the wide receivers in the same range. Like the tight ends, I argue, are even better than them. So that brings two tight ends very much in play as well. Quarterbacks, I think it's similar to the past couple weeks. It's going to be really spread out. Like running back seems clear to an extent, at least a couple guys, tight ends, etc. Quarterback, it's like, yeah, I think whoever you want to stack, go for it, because I don't think ownership's going to get crazy by any means. Good slate for sure. FanDuel, one extra game, obviously. Sunday night, Ladd McConkey injury news. Seems very, very up in the air. I don't know, but that is big news. Late swap, of course, big over there.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you put them in, just a good note, because we don't spend a lot of time on FanDuel later, but I was looking at it earlier. So if you put them in, like there is going to be options beneath them where it's like, yeah, it sucks that you kind of left a little money on the table, but there's enough value over there that if it ends up happening and you do have to move off them, it's fine to go like a Palmer or a Johnston, hope he catches balls for once. But anything like that, you could check out. If you've got another guy in there, you can mix it around from there with like a Disley. If you had a Kelsey, you could go down to Disley, up from McConkey to Hopkins, something like that. So we'll look at it all. Shout out to Anthony, first in, said free money Sunday, like button smashed and locked in. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe.
His ass hasn't been missing the gym.
No, that's for sure.
Discord yet showing off his videos. The people in there dropping all their workout stuff, but we appreciate it. But the main thing is we gave away the 6-month access, the all access with ShipTomize the other day. Shout out to Marquee Music Group, got the job done, had the comment on the channel, and already almost at 9,100. So now we're 900 away, give or take, from hitting 10K. And the goal was to do it by the end of the NFL season. So if we can get there before PGA swing and everything else comes back, that would be amazing. Make sure you're subscribed. But Hoopster, what is the grand scheme overview here? I know Title made a good point. Part of my thought process too was like how I think some of the chalk's going to get there. It's just how it gets there is going to be interesting. And he mentioned the two tight ends. Like not only is there those good cheap running backs and Barkley and Kamara and those guys, you've got Cade Otton, Brock Bowers, McBride, amongst others. There's other ones I'm forgetting. So really good slate for that. I think that's how it's going to go. It's going to come down to roster construction. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean the main thing for sure is the three cheap running backs that, if you go into any optimizer and just hit build, you're just going to get a shit ton of those guys, and rightfully so. I mean, their ranking is very, very good values. Do they all get there? Probably not. Do two of them get there? Yeah, probably. I mean, but these are bust potential on these guys, and they're coming in like massive, massive ownership. The other thing that stands out to me on the slate for sure is when you go and look at some of these quarterbacks, it's not the sexiest slate for quarterbacks, potentially clicking on some relatively nasty names today. But everyone has to. So, it's not like you're at a disadvantage. Another thing that definitely stands out is a lot of these games look nice together. A lot of nice correlation within games. So I'm going to be looking to game stack a little bit more today than I typically do. And we'll talk about it. Obviously, it's, perfect format to go game by game today, because I think there's a lot of inner correlation and things you can do within these games to build some, high EV lineup. So I agree with the tight end talk that you guys were saying before. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know, for looking at the slate without a ton, there's not many super high totals. I think it's pretty appealing from a DFS perspective. So I'm excited for it. And again, excited to talk through it all with you guys here.
I think you nailed it. When we get to the game by game, it'll be solid as well, because little things, right? Like I think there's a couple notes I have, and then Title, if you have more, if not, you can take us into the first game. But just, I think a combo pack, this is a hoop slate. Hoop loves the combo packs without their quarterback, right? You can just play the two dudes. It doesn't matter. You have three guys from Atlanta sometimes with no Kirk Cousins because they're all cheap enough, and they just correlate and go together, and whatever happens, happens. So I think we're going to see that today. There's a lot of different teams where you could see a little, 10K, 11K combo pack that just ends up on the winner, and you don't need their quarterback. You just rack up all the points from them. And then I also think there's a ton of great secondary stacks. So I like your comment about when we get to the games. Like, for example, and Title, I'll kick it to you if you got more thoughts. If not, take us into this one. But even in the Braylon Allen spot, if you don't trust it, you don't like it, whatever, you think he's too high owned, you can slice and dice it real quick. You could put in a Jonnu Smith. There's no way he's popular at tight end versus all the other ones. He'll get some love, but not double digits or anything like those other guys we're going to talk about later. Tyreek Hill, whatever you want to do. You could do a little secondary stack with that and get different right away. So kick it back to you, Title. Any other thoughts on this? If not, you could take us into this first game.
Yeah, no, not too many other thoughts. I mentioned some of mine at the top. You guys, very similar. I mean, the running back room's loaded. The cheap plays, Charbonnet, Garindo, Braylon Allen, all extremely, extremely cheap. But Kamara, Saquon, solid spend up. So taking the first game, actually, yeah, it's a perfect segue for the Dolphins side. Like Achane, he just can't be played today. The problem is like, man, when you do play him, he is right in that Saquon range, right in that Kamara range, who projects way better. And then I don't know how many other running backs I'll be venturing off of them, but I like Bijan when we get to him. He's 7.5K, Achane's 8.2K. So I think I prefer the 700 and Bijan to Achane. Again, Achane's definitely a fine play, but just know, like, you are giving up like 4 or 5 projection points in that same range. He'd be someone I'd use in chalkier lineups. My favorite play by far in the Dolphins is Jonnu Smith. I'm going to keep going back to this dude. He's an absolute monster. McBride getting ownership. Powers getting ownership. Definitely give me some Jonnu Smith for sure. My favorite way probably is just Braylon Allen or Jonnu. Devontae Adams or Jonnu. I'm good with Devontae too. I definitely prefer him over Garrett Wilson. It looks like he's Rodgers' number 1 guy right now. They're decent-sized dogs. Should be throwing it a lot. Fine on FanDuel as well. I don't want Rodgers, though, so I don't want to stack it up. I like Braylon Allen for the price. I think he probably comes in definitely behind Sharp. I think probably behind Garindo. Maybe it's relatively close, but I think Braylon Allen's a strong play. He was a stud at Wisconsin, catch passes out of the backfield, shouldn't have too much competition. So, yeah, not too much more to add on the Jets or Braylon Allen, Adams. I've been going back and forth on the Tua stuff because a lot of the same things I said about Achane with others in his range applies to Tyreek. Like, I like Mike Evans more. I like Puka more. I like Justin Jefferson more. That will make Tyreek extremely low owned. And man, Tua's been so good. It's been disappointing for Tyreek, but I don't think it's crazy to go Tua, pick one of Waddle, Tyreek, and Jonnu at really low ownership. Is it my top 3 stack on the slate? No, but usually I hand build like 5 primary teams that Tua might make it again because I do like the Braylon Allen run back. Jonnu will be low owned. It's a low owned piece game for the most part. So you guys are going to probably sway me one way or the other if Tua makes my top 5.
I couldn't get Tua into the main pool. I do have a Tua, like in the qualifier, a Tua overstack of this game because I think it's an environment that it either does or it doesn't. And you could say that for any game, I get it. But at least this one's somewhat interesting is it does still have a pretty big total. And the notes on Tua, like, again, couldn't get to him heavy, but just the points he's been putting up. And go back to the game in, the most recent game was in, what was it, Green Bay, right? In the cold. Tua can't play in the cold. He came through there and played well. Why can't he play well at home here in a game against the Jets? So if you're playing him, I think it's pretty simple. It's a way to get different with Braylon Allen. You could play Tua, Tyreek, Jonnu. I love your call on Jonnu. And then Ham, I got to give him credit always with that FanDuel slate plan over at SHIPIT Nation. Does a great job. And he had a point to be made for Tyler Conklin. And Conklin won me $100K last year. So I got to give him great first name, Tyler Conklin, a little bit of a leverage play off of Braylon Allen. If you want to do something like that, you could just have Conklin by himself. You could have Conklin with Tyreek, Conklin with Achane, whatever you want to do. But Hoop, I'll kick it to you on this one. What's your thoughts on Miami at home versus the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, pretty clear what I want to do on the Jets side. I mean, obviously, Braylon Allen is going to be in the mix today for sure. And he probably does come in a little lower owned than the two others, Charbonnet and Garendo. I mean, it's not going to be substantially lower owned than those guys, but I think he is number 3. And he's fine. He's looked really good. I mean, they're clearly willing to use him in any sort of manner. We saw it with Breece Hall. Like, he got catches. They used him at the goal line. So he's going to be a guy that can kind of do it all. Devontae over Garrett Wilson. I'm with Title on that one. The situation for the Jets has been a disaster this year. There's no denying it. I think Aaron Rodgers wants to prove a point that, like, the Devontae Adams thing wasn't a waste, and it's still a good connection. I don't know, like, he's just going to him over Wilson, I think, a lot. So I'm in on Adams, and I don't hate the Conklin call either. He's in my pool. I mean, he's like unowned, cheap tight end. Fine with that. This was the one thing from our guy Go Collect that definitely stands out to me when I'm looking at this big team total for Miami, and no one's really going here like at all. And that's kind of what pushed me over the edge to get on some of this Miami stuff, like a slate where we don't have a lot of high totals. This is one of the bigger team totals on the slate. Tua's been playing well. Tyreek's unowned. Jonnu is, probably 4th, 5th, or 6th in terms of tight end ownership. Jalen Waddle unowned. Like, it doesn't take much. If you're building 20 teams, if you do one, you're overweight on the situation. Like Title said, he's building 5, and if he does one, he's way over the field on it. So I think this is one of the more interesting spots on the slate, Miami. I mean, everything else to me is pretty clear. This one is very interesting. Achane as well. I mean, he just has to be unowned. Like, he just has to be. You have the cheap guys. You have Kamara. You have Saquon Barkley that people want to get to. You have Bijan as well up there. Like, no ownership, and he correlates so well with Tua or without Tua. It's just so much flexibility. I'm going to be in on this, and it was a late edition. Like, it was honestly this morning when I was going through this slate, looking at him like, why the hell am I not playing Miami? Big team total at home. Jets have nothing to play for. I mean, they could totally just give in at any point. I think it's a good spot on the slate. I mean, probably one of the sneakier, lower owned good spots on the slate. I'm kind of glad we hit it right off the top here.
Yeah. So we're spending more time on it than usual, and that usually is a good sign. And the chat brought up a bunch more good points too. Like Sauce out. Mostert is unlikely to play. Achane is also $200 more than Kamara, which even if somehow Kamara gets at least kept in check, I don't think he's getting kept in check as much as, he could have been higher for sure if we didn't get all the value running backs, but he's still going to be up there. But my point would be still $200 more to go to Achane. And I really think the other possibility, again, this is the best part. I don't know if everybody always grasps this, but like, if these lineups die, we don't care. Like, they're part of the portfolio. You throw them in. You can only win with one lineup if you win anyway. But the point would be, I'm thinking like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, 100 game sample size, 50-year history, biggest scoring game back and forth. Will it happen? I don't know. But it's definitely a possibility that when these two teams get together, again, does or it doesn't. But if it does, how many people are going to have the overstack of it with like Tua, Tyreek, Jonnu, Adams, Allen, all good plays, just not getting touched as much because there's other plays on the slate in those same ranges. So definitely see it. It is what it is. It won't project as well is the key to remember, but that's a median projection. If it ceilings out, you're going to have a pretty good game here. So I don't know, Title, did that sway you any at all, my friend?
I like it. I mean, we've talked about Tua the past couple weeks, and it's just they have so many ways to get there. And like you play Tua Tyreek, one play, 80 yards, boom. Not every team has that out. Achane takes a screen, 80 yards, boom. Like that team total is big. Ownership's not there. And I like Adams Braylon. So I think I play a lot more than 5 teams, but I try and hand build really focus 5 teams. And I think Tua's going to make that cut.
Yeah, almost 200 likes, guys. Again, make sure you're hitting that like button if you want to bring the stone back. We got it all covered and more over at SHIPIT Nation. We're talking about it, the Slate plan I mentioned there, where Ham does it for FanDuel. So if you play on FanDuel, that's great. If you play cash, the guy Title right here got you covered for both sites, DraftKings FanDuel, Hoops Player Pool, my DraftKings Slate plan, the stack rankings, and everything you just saw on the stone. Pretty much everything else shows up on the stone. And then Showdown got you covered completely. Also, just a note, if you click Join the Nation here, go to Single Sport Football, you can get the rest of season through Super Bowl for just $99. So less than $100 for the rest of the season, $30 more if you want to add Shiptimizer for NFL. And the college football streets and the MMA streets just absolutely crushing again yesterday. MMA popped off hard. College football had some big winners. College football included in the football package. If you want to lock in all access, $85 over there and good to go. So let's go back here. Title, I'm going to go back to you. Let's go to the second game on the slate. Is another good one here. I think Atlanta in Minnesota against the Vikings. We got the Kirk Cousins revenge game.
Yeah. First of all, Hoop, how good is Alexander Pantoja, baby?
Dude, he is incredible. He is so quick and effective, and man, it's fun to watch him. And I wish there was like some more competition, but I think it just goes to show you how he is just on a totally different level than everyone in that weight class. I mean, he's going to have to move up, right, to get any sort of competition. I mean, he just dusted the field.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's going to stay there for a little while. I think Roy Val's going to get the rematch, Tyra, but he's special. And then the Chase Hooper jumping on the back in the beginning was pretty cool.
That dude has improved a ton.
He's good.
So when I first started watching, it was like a big joke. He's just a lanky dude, and it wasn't all that impressive. Like he's improved a ton, and he's got the body now. Like he's dangerous.
Yep, for sure. So, yeah, back to football. Of the 6-12 watching, hey, we might have like 150 that care about MMA. But back to this. Yeah, the Viking side, I think, is a lot easier. If you're looking at the stone, Sam Darnold, I think, will be one of the most popular quarterbacks on both sites. And it's clear where to pair them. Justin Jefferson below 8K on DraftKings. I mean, I can't say it's comical because it's probably right. He hasn't done much at all this year. In a dome, though, I mean, I'm going to be right back to him at 7.8K. When all the cheap values at running back, it's easy to fit guys like that. But he will come with more ownership than he has recently for all those reasons. I also like Addison as a number 2. 5,300, very fair price tag, big time upside. They're also implied for 25 points. And I like TJ Hawkinson. So there's clear pairings with Sam Darnold in a game that should be up tempo a bit. If you want to leverage some of that, Aaron Jones, you can, and he is minus 145 to score. But the problem is man, like you need your running backs to do something. So I doubt he gets to like my top 5. I think he's a good milli maker play, larger field, clear leverage off of Darnold, Jefferson, and favored to score. I think the same can be said a little bit on the other side. I like Bijan. Drake London will be pretty popular on this slate. Kirk Cousins not really himself, but how do you leverage Drake London chalk? Bijan. I was a little disappointed in his touchdown prop at plus 100. I think a lot of that is credited to how good the Vikings defense has been. But Bijan, just the eye test wise, I think he's a top 5 running back in football. He can catch the ball to the backfield in a dome, track meet. Finally, they aren't playing Algier nearly as much. And I mentioned it like a Chan Bijan stuff, the 700 savings. I'm going to use Bijan as a pivot in the top tier, no doubt in this game, especially because I love Jefferson stuff. I'm good going Bijan, Jefferson. There's enough value. Bijan, Hawk, the Darnold stack with him on the other side. I don't mind Drake London, Mooney, Ray McLeod. Also low pivots off of London. I think I'd prefer them if I'm going Kirk Cousins, though. And I don't know if he's going to make my top 5. I was debating really Kirk Tua as the last spot. I think I'm talked into Tua a little bit. I prefer Bijan to the passing game for the Falcons, mainly because of Vikings defense. But, I mean, revenge game, dome, 300-yard bonus. You can definitely make cases for Cousins. So many options to pair him with.
Not prime time also.
Yeah.
So maybe just a quiet little morning revenge game. And that was the thing. So funny enough, because we talked about it so much last game and now I'm rethinking my whole life here, but I do have this Tua overstack I talked about, but the decision I made was exactly what you just said. And it's because maybe it's lingering from last week, but we both said back and forth on the show about Russell Wilson.
Yes.
And you were looking at the game before. I said, the stone talked me out of it. I'm not letting it talk me out of Kirk Cousins here. It is great leverage. It's on the opposite side. I like Hawkinson. I like Jefferson. I like Addison. I like this spot. I do like the Bijan call when you're going with Darnold because he immediately slices into it. He's lower owned, much lower owned than Kamara and right there underneath his price point. But Kirk Cousins, London, Mooney, like cut it off. To me, that's it. Like you just roll that and pick your guy on the other side. And I feel pretty good about it. And this is another spot similar to last game. And if it does get rolling, it's in a dome. We are getting later in the season. Both teams like to pass. You can throw all over. Look, Caleb Williams' little mini resurgence, we'll get to him later, but a couple weeks ago came against Minnesota. And now we're in Minnesota, everything you just said. So I don't know, where are you at with this one? Because usually like you love Drake London. It's just you don't need Cousins to play Drake London. I get it.
Yeah, I'm probably out on the Cousins stuff. I mean, there's other quarterbacks, and I just, as you guys were talking, bumped my Tua exposure. So hopefully this isn't like a Daniel Jones week 2 situation. What was that, week 1 or week 2, where we all talked ourselves?
Week 1, I think.
Was it week 1?
Week 2, he was on the millie.
Yeah. I don't want to create any bad vibes, but no, the Tua stuff I just bumped up. So like guys like Cousins, I'm not going to be getting to. I do like the individual pieces though. Bijan, Drake London, Mooney. I think are all solid run backs in the Viking stuff. And yeah, someone put in the chat, like, if you go to Shiptimizer and run it, it loves Darnold. It's basically everywhere. Darnold is showing up as a solid play. I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm going to play it. I don't love it to the extent that most do. And that's kind of why I'm going to play some Aaron Jones as a pivot off of it. But it is clear, and there are clear run backs. And I talked about in the opening, I like these spots today where I can play quarterback with one or multiple pass catchers, and I have guys on the other side to bring it back from. So that is me now coming back on the Darnold side a little bit. But again, the industry is really on it. I'm going to be on it, but I'm not as excited. Him to Jefferson, him to Addison, him to Hawkinson. I think you can do it with multiple as well. And then you got 3, to me, clear guys on the other side. Bijan, Drake London, Mooney. Drake London's just too cheap. And if they are trailing, and someone put it 15 targets, like he has massive target upside, and 6,400 is too cheap. So I'm in on it. I have a lot of it. And, the reason I think I like the Darnold stuff, the reason I'm playing the Darnold stuff is because the run backs are so nice and a lot of games like this today. So in on it. But I like the overstack here. It's kind of how I'm playing it, but yeah,
if you had the stone up, you'd be loving it right now too. And I'm definitely higher on the Darnold side for sure. So people talking about that, you could check it out for sure. I will say this too, shout out to my guy Billy, but I mean, this is just Bijan has just been so much better. I just don't care. Like it's $7,500. It is a risk. I know it's a bad matchup on paper, but they finally figured it out even last week. You just don't give it to Tyler Algier 3 times at the goal line and you score touchdown with Bijan. It's like,
shocker.
This is the thing. So
he has to be real. What are we showing for ownership? I mean, it's got to be low. It's one of those situations where it's going to come in lower than what anyone's showing.
We have 12.8. I bet you it's 6.8.
It's going to be. Yep. I think it's probably half. I think it's probably between 6 to 6, 7, 8 at the most. And again, it's hard to project that. No projection site's going to have it right. But there's just no way people are getting to it. There's no way.
And I think to add on to it, it's another thing like somebody asked yesterday, and it wasn't like to take a shot at them. It's shout out to our girl Drea in our Discord, but people asking like, how much does Saquon have to do at this price? And I'm only bringing that up because it kind of applies to this too for me. Like Bijan may only get 100. He may get you the 100-yard bonus and a touchdown. But if Kamara busts and if the guys, if Achane doesn't do anything in that range and Barkley doesn't do as good or whatever like that, it could still be enough, and you just could put yourself in a different spot because the build's different at that point. So it also depends on what everybody else does on the slate, and that's where I just think it could be something here, and I kind of like the spot. So, yeah, I'm good with that. One more note was I saw there was he's back this week, Josh Oliver. If you're playing the Darnold stuff and you want to get different, nobody's paying down at tight end. You can get like Darnold, Jefferson, Oliver, Moon, or London and still pack in a bunch of studs, like maybe get a Barkley into that lineup where most are playing it with a cheaper. If you can get Barkley and Jefferson in a lineup, I don't know if that's as common as some of the other builds that we'll see throughout. So, and by the way, Billy's setting the bathroom lines too. Bathroom break betting line, 10:47 a.m.
Pretty accurate number, I'd say. What that's 37 minutes out. Yeah, that's probably pretty fair.
I'll let you stay with it here, Hoop. Let's go to the Saints at the Giants, and we talked a little bit of Alvin Kamara, but there's a bit more to talk about here, I think. So, what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so no Taysom Hill, which I think is really big. I mean, he's had a massive role in this offense. It's been Taysom and Kamara, and I guess MVS, can't forget about him, kind of running the entire offense. But without Taysom, it definitely opens up more opportunities. I mean, probably more passing from Derek Carr. I'm not going to be on the Derek Carr stuff today, but I think Kamara is a phenomenal play, and without these running backs popping up due to injury, like these cheap plays, Kamara would have been massively popular. Another situation where I think the ownership has to be lower than anyone's kind of projecting, because everyone's going to like those cheap guys and play the cheap guys. So getting overweight on Kamara, it's something I want to do. I mean, it's always nice when you got a running back that can get 30 without finding the end zone. I mean, that's absolutely massive. The floor is so high, and it's a good spot. They're favored by a lot here, 5 or 6. So good with him. I think Juwan Johnson is a really good tight end play. I mean, this is a guy that has been productive with Taysom Hill. Now Taysom Hill is out, and they use him all over the field. They use him in the red zone. He's a big body. I really like Juwan Johnson today. I'm going to say that Juwan Johnson finds end zone. I think he's a phenomenal play at tight end. So we're going to go with a Juwan Johnson touchdown here at some point today. Really good play, 3,400. We have the spends at tight end. It's kind of opposite most weeks. I mean, most weeks people want to pay down at tight end. This week, people want to get in the Bowers. People want to get in the Trey McBrides, because you can, due to those cheap tight end or cheap running backs. Those cheap running backs are going to allow you to play the more expensive tight ends. Juwan Johnson, I think, is a really, really good play. I'm going to avoid all the Giant stuff. I mean, Malik Neighbors, I said, is going to try to play limited. I get the game theory stuff. It's going to bring down his ownership. He's going to be really low on, but he's got to outscore some big boys today around him at the wide receiver position. So I'll be passing on everything related to the Giants. It's going to be Kamara, it's going to be Juwan Johnson, and the Saints D. And I think all three of those are really, really strong options today.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. I will say, I talk about this a lot, but I think before I go to title, just the opposite D day, if you're not playing Kamara and you're not on anything on the Saints, I actually have no problem landing on the Giants, and I don't care if they've been good or bad. It's more just, it's really triple leverage. It's Giants against Kamara, who's popular. It's Giants against the popular defense in the Saints, and at the same price point, people are playing either the Jags or the Titans in the $2,600 to $2,800 range. So it's almost like triple leverage if you just land on the Giants. So I actually have interest in them. Our guy Kenny brought up the Tracy stuff. The matchup's really good. If you got the Stone, it's one of the best run matchups you can find. They're at home, but they're underdogs. So I don't know, Title. What's your thoughts here?
Kamara, Saints D. I don't even say defenses. Saints are just getting ownership and the correlation there. I mean, you can spin a wheel with whatever 6 defenses are in that salary range and pick whatever, and you might be as even as if you actually thought you knew what you're doing. There's so much variance in it, but I'm not playing anyone else in this game. Giants side looks tough. Like, the thing is, if you play Tracy, you need Tracy to get there. Running back is so strong. I'm not saying he won't, but an underdog running back, like, with so many great running back plays today, yeah, I'm fine with Juwan if you want to go down at tight end, but I'm just really going Kamara, Saints, move on.
And then I do have a little bit of this dude too. This Kevin Austin for 3.3K. Is it Kevin Austin like Jr.?
You don't even know his name. It might be time to get him out of the pool.
Yeah, get him out of the pool.
I got him in. Land him. He's the new. He's going to be the new Shaheed.
Marcus Valdez-Scantling touchdown. Book it. It's
or little Jordan with a nice 0 every week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Real quick though, Hoop, you remember I know you're not.
He knew. He knew for sure. 0 piece.
This is like an old school sports betting thing, Hoop. You probably remember it though too, but like 5-point underdogs at home, just auto bet, right? Isn't it like 70%? It's like it used to be like a super high percentage of like more than a winning better hits at. So it was always the bet. And that is the argument for the Giants when you flip it. Tracy, I think they just need to be up. I think he's just, it's if they're up in the game somehow. I know it's Drew Lock at the helm. That was your boy last week, Title. But if you can get Drew Lock just to drive the offense a little bit and then let Tracy Jr. do anything, I think it's a really interesting build to have him in there like a Tracy Jawan or a Tracy Marquez Valdez-Scantling, a Tracy Giant. So in some of the stuff, I'm definitely going to take a shot there. I do think it's an interesting game from that perspective. Outside of that, not a ton of love, some stacks, some mini stuff, but nothing major, not going to make my top 10 or anything. So no more need to go there. I think the public is playing Kamara, but still shying away some. Like a lot of the people in our Discord, for example, are like, I don't know why you'd want to play him at chalk. I hope he gets ownership. And then Hoop, real quick, Philly Phantom asked, I just don't see how it's popular today, even though it is two popular running backs. Do you think a lot of people play Barkley and Kamara together and just say, fine, I'll play the cheaper stacks? Because you can play like Winston with his cheapies. You can play, Darnold with his secondary guys, some of that stuff. But any thoughts on that?
Let me pull up. I'm curious now. I'm going to pull up my teams.
A lot more on FanDuel.
Yeah, I'm trying to force in, Kamara and Barkley more than those cheap guys. I just want to see how much I'm getting without changing. Yeah, I'm getting quite a bit of those two together. So I think it will be relatively popular. I mean, those are going to be the next two. After all three of the cheap running backs, those are the next two in line. So I don't think it's going to be like, unique to do that. A lot of people will, because all you got to do is you play one of the cheap running backs. You can play those two and then a cheaper stack and you're there. Like if you're playing like, I don't know, who's Will Levis or something, Will Levis stacks, which we'll talk about when we get to that game. You can play both those expensive running backs, and they are the next two in line. That's why I really like the Achane play, and I really like the Bijan play today, because those are going to be definitely like 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that range in terms of ownership.
Yeah, Title, I'm going to go to you on Panthers and Eagles in just 1 second because you mentioned the Barkley thing. I actually have a question for you, but this is real quick. And I know Hoop has him in there, and I get it all, and we're making jokes across as friends here, but I will say, like, this just reminds me so much of who was the dude? Sean Tucker. Like anyone that tried to make him, where he showed up in one top 10 lineup in the Millie with a 35-point game, and it was like 6th place. Like even if you get this guy right, it's you got to have everything else around it right, and you're probably not playing enough for it to even matter. So that's just one thing I'll note. I would play his props. I would play his touchdown if you think, or whatever. But I think his props, if you can find any, would be a good way to go with that. But
I'm with the chat. I'm playing Mr. Austin today. He's gonna do something for us.
I think he could do something. I just still don't think he's gonna show up anywhere. That's my takeaway. So
I'll tell you one spot he's gonna show up, and it's on my lineups.
Yeah, the ones
the ones outside of the green.
Yeah. Thank you. Panthers at the Eagles, and before the obvious stuff, we get into it all, Title, like you mentioned, more popular over on FanDuel, even at 10K. That's what I was saying to Dre yesterday in the Discord. Is like, I don't know what he'll do. Obviously, we'd love him to have 30 plus at that number, but the point being, he is easier to fit over there. It's just their pricing is so soft. It's just very simple to get to Barkley. So what are your thoughts on him first on both sites, and then take us into this game, the rest of it?
So much easier on FanDuel. And to be honest, like I don't have much interest in this game on DraftKings, and it's definitely scary. I'll get there in a sec. FanDuel, I like it more because I know David has me absolutely crying in chat.
You responded. I always get you this one first. Sorry to cut you off, but it just is funny. I've been seeing it. It's like, is he getting steps in, checking the watch? That's amazing. Go ahead.
I know. I might have to blur the background. That is so funny, David. You have me in tears. The Saquon will be more popular. Oh, it's been going. Yeah, that's so funny. Saquon's definitely going to be more popular on FanDuel because pricing's even softer. Like the 10K FanDuel versus 9K DraftKings, 10K is cheaper on FanDuel, which also makes me then like the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stuff more because you get way more leverage with the Eagles stuff that way, or Devontae Smith. But at the end of the day, I don't love this game really much at all. And the reason for that is I just think the Eagles pound them. They have so many different ways they can get there. Like Saquon, and a lot of it, Saquon taking himself out is one of the most cool videos I've seen, talking to Sirianni when he could have went and broke the record. And he said, no, like put Kenny Gainwell in, I'm totally fine, etc. Why would he not do that? If he did that for the record, why would they not do that if they're up 21 in the fourth quarter or something like that, mix in these guys? And at 10K, at 9K, on a slate like this with so many good running back plays, you need a big boy score. I think Saquon will. 25 might not be enough, though. So I think I'm going to take a pretty much fade, definitely an underweight approach on this game. I don't like much of these Panthers. Like Bryce Young has definitely looked better. Well, going on the road to Philly against a solid defense does not look like a fun spot. Yeah, Thielen had a good game. Like it. There's more. We don't need value. We don't need mid-tier stuff at wide receiver. You want big scores there. I just don't want anything to do with the Panthers. It could be Saquon. He could fall at the 1 yard line, and then it goes Hurts. Then the next one, it's Saquon. The next one's A.J. Brown. At least that's what I'm hoping. Their prices are all so high. None of them fully get there. This game bust. That's how I'm going to be playing and hoping.
Yeah, before I go to you, Hoop, I have a question. Just this one. If you go to the site under Join the Nation and click Single Sport, you can see football there, and then it has ROS plus Super Bowl. It's the rest of season plus Super Bowl. If you already got one, though, it looks like you said you already got something there. You can just email us info@shipitnation.com. We'll get you taken care of. This question was asked. You can definitely play running backs against each other. It's actually not common that people will, but if you've got a feel for the game going back and forth on the ground, oftentimes like the Arizona-Seattle game, when we get to it later, if you want a different way to play Charbonnet is to play James Conner on the other side and do it that way and have them going against each other. So definitely think that's possible, but this is kind of what I wanted to ask you about first, Hoop. Jordan kind of got there with the question. If the game is over by the third quarter, they obviously got there. Their team total is almost 30. We've seen this plenty of time. Now, the Panthers have showed up to put up, 14-17. They almost beat the Chiefs. Like, they can push these teams a little bit. I don't see it here, but just to note, if they did show up, it would keep these guys going longer. Do you like any of the Hurts leverage stuff? Because you're talking about getting different at running back with Barkley and whatnot, but how do you see this game playing out, and how are you playing it?
I just never play for the blowouts in NFL. I mean, it's got to be like 3 to 4 touchdowns, and it's usually not until the fourth quarter. And then if it is, like, the offense has already gotten there and exceeded what you wanted from them to get to that point. So I'm not worried about the, 14 and a half, whatever the hell the number is. I'm more concerned with the 29 number next to the Eagles, and they're projected to score over 4 touchdowns. And where's that going to come from? Saquon could get it done at halftime against this team, potentially. He could get it all. I mean, the dude has been so explosive all season long. I do think the ownership comes in lower than what it's being projected around the industry, because when people start hand building, they're going to say, man, if I just plug in these cheap running backs, I can get everything I want in terms of the stack. So I do think he has a chance to come in a little bit lower. Yes, it's easier on FanDuel to play him, but he's got a prop of like 115 rushing yards. It's absolutely insane. He's got to be a massive favorite to score a touchdown. I'm sure Title has that number on hand or can get it relatively quick.
It's got to be 270.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a big, huge number. These cheap running backs could easily, bust or not get there. So I'm going to be in on the Saquon stuff. Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown, I'm going to have some of that. I mean, it's going to be like an unowned stack for a team that is projected to score 4 touchdowns. The one thing with Hurts, I kind of like him with pass catchers nowadays, with Saquon being back there. Seems like someone comes along with him when he has these big games. So A.J. Brown, I'm fine with. Devonta Smith is another. I mean, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith just completely unowned. Is it likely that it gets there today? Yeah, probably not. But guess what? I don't have to allocate barely any resources to get over the field on those stacks. I mean, you're talking like 1% plays, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and they're projected to score 4 touchdowns. So is it going to be a massive part of my portfolio today? Nope. But I'm going to be overweight, and it's not going to take much to get overweight. So kind of where I'm at here. And then Grant Calcaterra, 3.5K. Fine keeping him in the player pool as well with Goddard out.
Now you're speaking my language. Forget this Kevin Off. You didn't even know who he was. Let's go to a ways to play Hurts different. It's what you said. I do like playing him with some. I've got him with A.J. Brown in some. But the more I thought about it too, actually, Hoop was like, just fill out the tight end slot with Calcaterra and you can do whatever you want, or just play him naked and hope. And when everyone says I'm going to leverage Barkley with Hurts and A.J. Brown, what if it's just Hurts stealing the 3 rushing touchdowns again, like he always does from Barkley, and it's not also needed with A.J. Brown? So I think there's a bunch of different ways you can go, but I do think they're putting up those 30 points, and it might be quick. So definitely would want to think about that when you're building your lineups out. This is definitely a spot I bumped up a little bit overnight. Just the more I kept thinking about it, the more the spot is. And like Hoop said with Barkley, might be a spot. Again, we know he's going to be more owned. I think he's much more owned than we have him for right now because the value that opened up. But I think he could have been a lot higher. You would expect him to be a lot higher. And if all 3 of those value running backs didn't open up, I think we would have saw Barkley at a lot more. So while he's going to be high owned, it's not some secret here to play him. It's saying we're getting a spot where they may keep him in check versus what he could have been on this slate. And I always like that when I can get it. One note I'll just make on the other side quick, and then Title back over to you if you have anything else. But Thielen and the guy we're going to get to in the next game, Judy, people think they need to do the same thing they did last week to play them. I just don't think that's true. Like, I think you got to remember, like, for example, Judy can do half of what he did last week and still be a great play on this slate. He's not expecting 40 plus out of him again. Thielen doesn't need to put up almost 30 to be involved. And so if you do land on some of these guys, I guess all my point was is I'm more okay with it than not, where most people think it's chasing. I'm not expecting 30 out of Thielen or 28 or 29, whatever it was. But if I got to him in some, I'd be okay with that. Did you have anything else here or anything you want to add to that, Title?
Well, for sure. And I mean, Thielen also got robbed on I don't know how blind these refs review, like why they even have reviews. Yeah. I mean, so he could add more.
That was stupid.
That was insane. Why'd they take 15 minutes during commercial break to make the wrong call?
So stupid.
Yeah, he got robbed. He definitely got robbed. That was good. That's a good call. That was definitely a spot there. Anything else on this one, Title? If not, the next game up is an interesting one because you would have thought a lot of people be interested in Browns Steelers after they put up both those teams put up just huge monster games, and now they go against each other. But then other people are looking at it, I think, like AFC North battle. Just saw like this is going to be tougher. It might shut down a little bit, and they feel like that is chasing. So anything to add on that last one? If not, you can go to the next one.
Yeah, the last one, it's just like I totally get all your standpoints. The 29 total, like Hurts is minus 160 to score, Saquon's minus 270. I think both are inflated too much because they just don't know. Is it going to be Hurts at the 1 yard line? Is it going to be Saquon at the 3 or getting in? You got to get that right, but there's no doubt they both have all the upside. This game's definitely interesting because, like you said, is it Jameis going to keep doing the Jameis things, or is the Steelers defense at home, like Jameis traveling on the road? It's a tough spot. I know I'm going to play some Jameis. Does he make my top 5? I'm not quite sure yet. But the reason I'm going to play him is they will just drop back 50-plus times and let him sling it all game. And he has clear pass catchers. Judy, Elijah Moore, Njoku. You want to get off of Judy and just go more Njoku? I'm totally fine with that. Who knows what of these 3 it's going to be. I do prefer just picking 2 of the 3. I guess if you played 3, maybe it's not the craziest. It's not something I'm really looking to do, but I'm fine with Judy chalk because I like Jameis Winston. Jameis isn't really getting ownership today. Again, it's a really tough matchup. That is a way you can play Judy chalk. If I was going to one-off like a Brown, like I like Najee Harris on the other side, I think I'd rather go Elijah Moore and Njoku instead of Judy as the one-off without Jameis. I would include Judy more in my Jameis stuff. Again, you can get different other spots. I'm not saying don't play Judy as a one-off, but I prefer the savings. Steelers side, I'll let you guys talk about Russell Wilson. I am banned for the year after my horrific take. I will be playing some.
Don't worry, don't feel bad, buddy. That was
for 3.
Yeah, but me somehow saying the 400 yards. I didn't even say 300. I said 400. Then he dropped it on my head. Yes, that was absolutely insane. Yeah, that was crazy. I like Najee Harris, though. If I like the Jameis stuff, I think the Steelers play for him ahead. Running back room's loaded. Man, Najee's looked good this year for sure. Very fair price tag at $6K. And his touchdown prop, I believe, minus 110. Not bad at all as a low-owned running back. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing some Najee, some Jameis stuff, and I'll let you guys talk about Wilson.
Yeah, I want to say for sure, I just remembered something. Hoop, you can just swap all your Kevin Austin to Calvin Austin. Austin the third, man. That's the spot. Even if Pickens plays, I actually like.
What about both?
Yeah, you get them both in there. You got your Kamara Barkley.
Yeah, donate to me.
Kamara, Barkley, and Achane or Bijan, and put them all together now because you've got 2 of those guys in there, and you can just stack it up. Otherwise, maybe put Derek Carr in it. Since you're not playing Kamara, you could go Barkley, Achane, Bijan. Get your Kevin Austin with your Carr, and then get a little Steelers action in here too with Calvin Austin. But go ahead. Tony Pollard, we'll get to that.
Yeah, when we get to the game, appreciate the $1.99, man. That's very generous of you.
Yeah, we're going to get it taken care of. Don't worry. We got Tony Pollard in a great spot. I know Ham likes him today too, but Hoop, what's your thoughts on this Browns-Steelers game? Because Winston, the chat was talking about it, very condensed.
Yeah, I'm basically in lockstep with what Title kind of laid out. Like, I'm going to play Jameis. I mean, anytime someone goes off like he did, like the next week they're going to typically get ownership, and it doesn't seem to be the case with him. They're willing to just chuck it. I get the Steelers defense is good and all that, but I just got to be on it. I mean, who he's thrown it to as well: Judy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku. It's cheap. And again, relatively low on the pass catchers aren't low on, but Jamison himself is low on because of this matchup. So I'm in on it. And yes, people in the chat are talking about playing him with Steelers D. Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those situations where you can do it. And if you're playing Jameis, you kind of want it. You want his ass to throw a pick six, and he gets right back out there and he starts chucking it again. So fine with that. On the Steelers side, I think I've hit this call a couple times. I think it's definitely Najee Harris sort of day, and I really like him on both sides. FanDuel price I think is way too low. Kind of fits FanDuel scoring a little bit better as well, but I think it's a Najee sort of day. I mean, both these offenses went off last week. I think the Browns can still have success offensively, but man, I think the Steelers are going to try to shut this one down. I think it could be Najee Harris, Steelers D sort of day. So I'm in on that for sure. I will have some Pickens, especially if you are playing Jameis. Like, Pickens is a great run back. Najee's fine. I'm good with Calvin Austin as well. I'm not going to be on the Russell Wilson thing. I don't think I've ever gotten it right. I'll be off of it today. So, take that information, do what you want with it, but I'm not going to be playing it. I will play the Jameis side, Najee Harris, George Pickens, and then some Calvin Austin.
Yeah, we're lockstep on that stuff. The slate is interesting. There's 3 afternoon games, but it's probably 3.5 because the amount Jameis throws. This game will still be going on through the first quarter of the afternoon one. So it just the clock ran forever. I couldn't believe there was still like 8 minutes left in the third quarter the other night. I think it was when the game usually ends. It was just nonstop. If we get that again here, the amount they throw it, the back and forth, the stack ranking, if you're looking at the stone, definitely a good spot today. And I love the call hoop of what you kind of said there is like, even if people get to the other title, you kind of hinted at it too. All of a sudden, the other stuff just cuts right into it and slices it. And even in Njoku, there's people talking about, he won't get 2 touchdowns again. Doesn't need to get 2 touchdowns and everything again at that 5,100 price. But obviously, when you've got Otton, Bowers, McBride, the cheap options, the guys that are stacking in with their quarterback, you're just not going to get as much in Njoku as you would expect. So I think it's a really good spot to stack up here. I like the Jameis side quite a bit, and I love the call on Najee and Pickens on the other side, and a little Calvin Austin would be the little Calvin Austin, the little Jordan Humphrey's brother. We'll go to him as well. But yeah, this is a good game, I think. Title, Raiders Bucks. What do we got?
Talk about a good game. This is an absolute gem. I mean, Baker's been so good, so fun this year, moving the football very efficiently. I love Baker. I like Mike Evans. I like Cade Otton. I like Bucky Irving. I think it's really simple. You can definitely play Bucky with Baker Mayfield in the last 6 games. Bucky's had at least 3 receptions. I think it's a very strong spot. They're implied for 26.5 points, one of the biggest on the slate. Raiders stuff, I mean, Bowers and Jacoby Myers are 2 of the better plays on the slate. That is not sneaky one bit. The biggest question is, do you throw Aiden O'Connell in to slice that chalk a little bit? He is very cheap. I don't know. In my top 5 teams, like I told myself I can't play these bad quarterbacks like the Will Levis of the world, the O'Connells of the world. It's cheap. I get it. I'm going to probably play some of my larger stuff. I like the Bucs side. They should push. Aiden O'Connell, he just threw for over 300 yards. So I'm not telling everyone not to play him. But like I'd rather play a Tua over him. I'd rather find a little more and play Jameis over him. That's just where I'm at right now. I think it's a great game environment. I don't think O'Connell's a bad play. You eat Jacoby, Bowers, 2 great plays. Pass catchers, play the quarterback with them for free. I totally get it. I lean the other side, more Baker stuff, Bucky. Love one, like no quarterback, Bucky, Bowers, Mike Evans, Bowers, or Jacoby, whatever you want to do. I think this game sees some points.
Yeah, if I'm Mike Evans, I want Baker, and I like the Baker side. I'll let Hoop talk about it more in a second, but I will say one of the combo packs I mentioned off the top of the show that I think can get away with it. I posted it in the slate plan in the Discord as well. Like Jacoby Myers and Bowers are both super chalk, and they're both that price. A lot of people are deciding between them, or a lot of people are combo, or when they go with those 2, they're saying, I may as well just put the quarterback. And it's not like O'Connell's getting heavy ownership. I'm saying it just makes sense. They think that you need that, but it's not actually true. Like you could actually see between these guys, they catch 18 catches, 160 yards, and a touchdown between 2 guys. And even with no bonuses, they're going to do like 4x their price at that. And that doesn't mean shit for Aiden O'Connell. 1 touchdown and 160 yards. Like that's not great. And yes, he could do more in other places, but man, the target share is pretty lined up between these 2. And I think you can get other stacks around it. So Hoop, I'll kick it to you. You usually are okay with this. You do it like I joked about it earlier, but you've done it for sure with Atlanta. where you just say I'm playing London and whoever else, like a Mooney, and I don't need Cousins because those two are just going to rack up all the catches, maybe a bomb to Mooney that doesn't really break it for Cousins, and you can get away with it. What's your thoughts on just using those two and then the rest of this game?
Yeah, I mean, you're playing these guys as volume-based players. I mean, anytime now you're clicking on a Raiders player, you're assuming they're playing from behind, which they do a lot of, and it's a ton of, passes to Myers and Bowers, not necessarily multiple touchdowns. They're only projected to score 20, right around 20 in this game. So I think they're both fine individual plays. I'm not playing Aiden O'Connell. I mean, he does show up if you kind of, sort by value at the quarterback position. He does show up there because he's so cheap. I'm just not doing that. I'm going to play Myers. I'm going to play Bowers. I'm going to play a lot of them because I love the other side. I love the Tampa Bay side. I love Baker to Mike Evans. I like Baker to Cade Otton. I like Bucky Irving individually. You can play Baker with Bucky Irving. And then one other cheap name I'm going to throw out there, Sterling Shepard, 7 targets in the last 2 games. It's only 4K. So if you are playing Baker Mayfield stuff, I think it makes sense to include Sterling Shepard at 4K flat. Like I said, 7 targets in the last 2 games, 7 and 7. I think he's a great guy to include in these situations. I mean, there hasn't been much. I mean, 5 for 16 and 4 for 42, but he's getting looks in this offense. And even going back prior to those 7s, he had a 3-target game and then a 5 and a 5. And for 4K on the slate where there's not a lot of cheap wide receivers, I'm going to be in on Sterling Shepard as well. Great game for an overstack. Yes, Myers is going to get ownership. Bowers is going to get ownership. How many people just say, give me it all? Give me, Myers, Bowers, Baker, and then Otton or something, or you can bring in another guy too. So it's, I think it's a good game. I think it definitely can go over. Tampa Bay's defense is not great. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the game that kind of shoots out today, and I'm going to be all over it, and I hope that is the case. So love this game. The only part that is somewhat unfortunate is there's just not a ton of plays on the Raiders side. It's literally just like Myers and Bowers. You just don't want to play anything else. That's the only downside I'm seeing in this game. But I really like it from all angles.
What about Sincere McCormick? Get a little action in there and play him and put him together. Put him with the Ravens or put him with the Raiders D.
I'm gonna Hoop is out. Sincerely, Hoop.
Sincerely yours. I'm out. Sincerely yours, Hoopster. I think there's some conversation here, so I'm just looking at some of it. But the Otton Bowers stuff title, that's the other thing. You can definitely play both together. And if Otton beats a Charbonnet or something like that down there, and you've got it set up that way, that's certainly a way to do it. I like the Shepard call from Hoop. There was some stuff. Again, Mike Evans to me is just what it is. He beats him or he doesn't. You can put 3 guys on Mike Evans sometimes, and he can come down with that ball really tough in the red zone, end zone. I know people look at this shell coverage in the last 7 games on a 52% shell this high, XYZ. It's I don't give a shit. Today is one game against the Raiders, and he's Mike Evans, and if he comes through, he comes through. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'll build it accordingly. But a big Mike Evans day is likely a big Mayfield day. And if you want to have something mixed like that, that's another way you can sort of cut into it with Baker, who nobody's really on, Otton, who less are on than Bowers, Mike Evans, and use Jacoby. And now you got Mayfield and Otton, no Bowers with Myers. And then before I ask you the double tight end question quick, and we'll go to the next one after, the other thing too is if you're not playing Bowers today, because he's just so popular and he'll get even more popular in the higher stakes and stuff, I think it's fine to have Myers and do something different with it, like a different tight end with Myers, because it's probably going to go to him if not, right? There's just like Hoop said, who else gets it for the Raiders? They're still scheduled to put, or on paper, at least, it doesn't mean much, but to put up 20, that's still enough that I think Myers would be involved. Anything extra to add there on the Otton, Bowers, tight end, Myers stuff?
Yeah, just what about, double tight end within the same game, Bowers and Otton together? I mean, people will play double tight end, but you get 2 tight ends in the same game. That sounds pretty tasty.
I like it. And like I said, it's only $400 It's actually $400 less. You might be able to pick something else up there with Otton over. A lot of people are going to have Charbonnet in the afternoon. Probably most people want Garendo versus get to Snoop Dogg later, but put him in there instead of the other guy, Charbonnet. Then that would be Otton taking his spot. And if you think he can do it, go ahead, Title. Any extras?
Yeah, definitely agree with your if no Bowers. Myers would probably get a lot of the work. I agree with the double tight end. One question for you is, are you good with just Baker, Mike Evans, and that's it? Baker 6,400 he's got to do something. But Mike can be 10 for 200, I guess. So
Mike has to pay it off. Yeah, I like Mike Evans like I like DK Metcalf, like I like Jamar Chase. Like a big Mike Evans day can be 10 for 150 and 2 touchdowns. Well, that's a good start for Baker Mayfield at 64. Also, not many people like the 64. And like that range of quarterback today, a lot of people are just down, right? They're all down on the 5,800 and below. That would be a way to make it work and make it happen. And hopefully he does, so we can bust up these shell coverages that, 48% of the time he's not going to see, and all those stats that we love out there with the small samples. But yeah, I'm fine with that for sure.
Would you say that's your preferred side over double stacking?
Yeah, I like either going in this game. I like either Jacoby Myers and Bowers with not like just those two and cut it off. Or I like and again, I'll have some with Aiden O'Connell, but I'm saying you can play those two, found some really good lineups that way. Or I like overstacking it. Or I like your point you just said, which would be the third way, would just be Baker, Evans, and if you want to add Otten or not with Myers on the run back. That's kind of the look that I've got.
Yeah, that makes sense. And again, I don't mind even including Bucky in your Baker stuff too. Again, three catches in the past 6 games, explosive. If this game does overstack, you can see a Mike Evans, Baker, Bucky, just the Bucks absolutely pound them, and then Bowers or Myers on the way back. So yeah, I definitely like that game.
Quick too, just while you said that, should note, someone brought up in the chat a second ago, like I don't think there's any fear with Bucky. It was just some extra rest. I don't think there's any fear with Pickens. I know it's a little tighter on that one. We'll see. I'm actually, most worried about Neighbors. I think we'll wait and see how that one goes out. But he's the one that seems like the true. Maybe they say no. Well, they said today, like Schefter kept posting all the ones about this is the case, but they're not looking to shut people down for the season. He still is a really good rookie. He's been phenomenal. He's had a concussion and been out for a little bit. Now this, I could see if they do hold him back today. It's just one game, but I could definitely
make it simple and don't click the name. I mean, I don't even think you need to even worry about the news on that one. Just don't play Neighbors today, and you're doing all right. I mean, he's got to be the worst play on the slate. So if people want the poop play, there it is, Neighbors.
And this is possible. Again, we'll see, but I think Pickens will be fine. If not, you got Calvin Austin and other guys that you can go to there. All right, Brad, there's the tip of the cap for you, my friend. The Raiders talk is over. Title, I'll kick it to you. Jags, Titans. I'll let Hoop, think about his guy, Will Levis, a little bit longer over there because he hinted at him earlier, but go ahead, Title. Jags, Titans.
Yeah, man, this is it's a tough one. The reason for that, the Jags are just so bad. Like, this defense is terrible. Now Lawrence is hurt, so it's Mac Jones. Really tough spot. So I guess I'll just start there. The only really interest for the Jags is Brian Thomas for me. Evan Ingram, I think, is fine as well. I just feel better with Brian Thomas's one play, 60 yards, boom, he's there. Whereas it's more dink and dunk Evan Ingram stuff. I love a lot of other tight ends. I think Ingram's fine, but Brian Thomas definitely my favorite way to get Jags exposure. I'd be totally fine with 0 Jaguars. Titans, my favorite play, Tony Pollard. Leverages off a Ridley chalk, leverages off of some Will Levis chalk. One of my other favorite plays in this game, I think, is Jaguars defense. Will Levis literally he has no pocket presence at all. He makes the dumbest mistakes. He goes all out trying to win, sometimes to a disadvantage. People playing Titans D, I love going to the other side for Jaguars D. And again, I hardly even mention defenses. I like Pollard for the leverage. I think Pollard Titans defense is fine as well. Again, Titans D getting some ownership. If you like touchdowns, bet Nick Westbrook-Ikine. Collect your money later. I will not be doing it because I don't like money. What to do with the Will Levis situation? I don't know. He's getting ownership. It's a very concentrated target share of almost all the Levis teams. They're going to go Ridley. It just feels not too thin, but we have 10 games on the slate. Like Jameis 5%, Tua 5%, Kirk Cousins, I mentioned earlier. He's not going to make my top 5. Levis getting ownership with a clear just Ridley, and that's where people are going. Give me Pollard, give me Brian Thomas, give me defenses, give me nothing in this game is what I'm hoping for. So, yeah, that's what I got.
I'll kick it over to you in a sec, Hoop, but we're getting there. 271 likes. Just a quick note and reminder, the thumbs up is the like, not the heart button over here that people hit. So just a note on that. Hit the like, and while you're there, it should say subscribed with the D on the end. So make sure you're subscribed. Again, almost up to 9,050. I thought we were closer to 9,100, but when we get to 10,000, we are giving away an annual all access with Shiptimizer, the $9.99 membership. And if you guys get us to 400 today, we'll bring the Stone back. Somebody asked earlier if you want to go sign up and get access to the Stone, you can go to the single sport. It's right here. Rest of season through Super Bowl for football, $99. Rest of season Super Bowl with Shiptimizer for NFL, $129. And if you do have college football in your state, it does include the projections, ownership, the stone, core report, player pool, the full Discord access. You can't beat it. Somebody said earlier too, treat yourself. I love that. You get a big score, Christmas time, you're on there. You know your wife is doing it. She's over on there buying stuff on Amazon, buying extra Christmas presents you didn't know about yet and putting them under the tree. So buy yourself a SHIPIT Nation membership, get in the zone, get rolling, get on the stone. Hoop, your thoughts on this game. I'll back this back out, put us back there. But you were hinting at Will Levis earlier, so talk to us.
Good to say, get in the zone, get on the stone. I kind of like that one.
Get in the stone, get in the zone.
The Will Levis. I mean, I've shit on him a ton. Title recommended him on the 2-game slate, and we had the joke going that Will Levis has something on Title. I'm on it today, but I don't know if it's necessarily like for Will Levis. I don't know if that even makes sense. Like, I'm on it. I think because I want to get overweight on the expensive running backs. I want to play, the Barkleys, the Kamaras, the Bijans, the Achans, and it does make it easier to get more exposure to those guys playing the Will Levis stack. So I'm playing it today. I don't love it, but I'm playing it. We talked about it on the Cash Show. I mean, he's been relatively consistent lately, which is a weird thing to say about Will Levis in terms of fantasy production. 19, 16, 18, 16. Like, could he get to 25? Like, all it is like one rushing touchdown on top of what he's done in the last 4 weeks, and is at 25, and that could clearly be a winning score at the quarterback position today. So in on him. I'm in on Calvin Ridley, and I'm just going to play Westbrook-Ikhine because I'm playing Will Levis. I mean, I'm just giving in. I'm giving in at this point, boys. We said it last week. He was scoring a touchdown. He did.
We said it the last 7 weeks.
Yep. And he just no one plays him. That's the best part about it. Like, no one ever plays the guy. Just scores touchdowns. I'll be in on it today. I don't even care if he catches a touchdown.
Thank goodness. We're good.
I'm excited to see his name in my lineups today. I don't care what the result is. I am finally giving in. No one else in the industry wants to give in and play him. I will give in and play him today. Chig, 3K, cheap tight end. I just like this team for the price tag and what it can do really for the rest of the lineup. If Will Levis just does a little more than what he's done the last 4 weeks, like I think he can be fine. I do like Pollard, and I like the Titans D as well, and I like the Jags D. I think that was a good call. The Jaguars defense is cheap. Will Levis, even if he has a good game, he can definitely turn it over. A pick six is always lurking with this guy. The Jags D is super cheap, I believe, as well. What is that price? Yeah, $2,600. So good price tag on them. But I guess I'm in on all of the Titans, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't mind the. I got to get a couple more thoughts in here, but the Brian Thomas Jr. on the other side, I guess, is the debate, because if you get to like a Levis Ridley or something and just stop there, I think you're fine. The R in Ridley, by the way, stands for revenge. Don't forget that. So if you play that, you can run it back with Brian Thomas, but you also, Title, can just land on like Jerry Jeudy. And I know you mentioned like that one-off earlier, but like in like a higher dollar, smaller field, do you feel better running it back? Or do you feel just saying, I'm just going to take my hope with Levis and Ridley and just rack up the targets on a Jeudy and hope for that? What's your thoughts on something that way?
It would depend on how chalky I am. Obviously, I would lean into projection like Jeudy over Brian Thomas in a vacuum. But if I'm going Levis, Ridley, that's some chalk. You're playing some of these cheap running backs chalk. I think a way to get different on that team, people wouldn't go him in high stakes. I think Brian Thomas makes a lot of sense. And just game thought-wise, if Levis does truly get there, someone on the other side's got to push it. Nobody more likely than a guy with Brian Thomas's upside big playability. So
yeah, it's in my head from last week too. Remember the Discord was all pissed off, like, oh, Mac Jones had Brian Thomas on a 63-yard walk-in and he dropped it.
Yep.
And then I remember the next play and everyone's like, no, he dropped it. We're like, no, not touchdown this time, but he did just go right back to him for like a 60-yard catch. And they were like, oh shit, he went right back to him. So you got to think that's pretty nice as well, just a way to use Brian Thomas Jr. So I guess I like that side of it. Both Ds for sure in play. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add here? If not, Seahawks, Cardinals kicks off the afternoon games.
Yeah, you guys, well, I might have missed it. Your thoughts on Pollard? Like, just good leverage? Is running back too strong?
No.
I'm in on him. Yeah, definitely in on him.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, great call there. I think that's an interesting spot. And because he's like a little bit more, he's 1,000 more than Garindo. He's more than the other guys in that range and just kind of squeezed a little bit. I also like some Pollard with Titans D. That's another one that comes up often. Pollard, I know everyone says every running back has this, but on real sample sizes, Pollard is always much better when they're in the lead or winning. And if you think that there's a spot where the Titans can come through and you like that side more than the Mac Jones side, I think that leans even more into Pollard. And then we've been using Pollard over on FanDuel, but still looks pretty good over there at 7,500 as well. When you can get to Barkley easily, Garindo, Allen, Charbonnet, all those guys make more sense. So I've kind of leaned into Pollard a little bit that way as well.
Yeah, both sides. He leveraged. Ridley will be popular in FanDuel. Levis not as much. So you get more double leverage on DraftKings, but I definitely like it. And yeah, I mean, if you want $0,
but that one's a tough clip. I mean, it is the exact same price, and so I get it. You'd just be flipping it to the other side, but oh man, if
I was just gonna chirp hard, but then I remember Russell Wilson, so I'm not saying nothing.
It's Mac Jones, like exactly. If it happens, it happens. I don't have enough of everything else there to make it work. I do have. I should note too, real quick, the other guy I got sold on and sort of that mid-range wide receiver pricing was Parker Washington.
He was good last week.
Yeah, with Jones came in and what he started doing. Again, that's a worse sample size, literally one spot. But there's only so many options you can go to. And if you want to get off of some of the Titans chalk, you flip it to the other side. He's $300 less than Westbrook Akine. And I don't even think Westbrook Akine is going to get much ownership. That's the funny part, Hoop, is like everyone still says the same thing. And nobody wants to be the one to jump on. You're good with it. But nobody wants to be the one to jump on after all those weeks happen. And that's why nobody ever has jumped on this guy, right? So
I'm in.
All right. Title, if nothing else, let's go into these afternoon games. We've got the Seahawks Cardinals. I'll do a quick mic check. Let's check it out. 327, almost 850 people watching. So a bit disappointing, but it's easy to do. It's free. I already even gave you the instructions. Take 2 seconds, smash the like. If we get to 400, we'll pull it up for these last 3 games so that you can see it on the stone. But title, Seahawks at Cardinals, and we know where some of the chalk is with Charbonnet. Talk to us about that and the rest of this game.
Yeah, Charbonnet will be the most popular play on the slates, rightfully so. 4,800, no competition. I believe last time he played without Walker, he got almost like 100% of the work. I mean, man, does it feel strong. If Cardinals defense, it's okay. It's nothing great. I love them being in a dome. Should be fast-paced, one of the highest totals on the slate. And again, he's absolutely free on both sides, 4,800, 5,300. Yeah, I don't have really anything bad to say about him. JSN, DK, definitely looking at them, which then I'm like, man, what about Geno? There's so many quarterbacks on the slate. Again, in my 5 teams, I don't think Geno's going to make the cut. I might very well have 100% Charbonnet. On chalk, I'm definitely good eating. There's a billion other ways to get different on a 10-game main slate. But if I'm not playing Charbonnet, I think just going one of JSN, one of DK, you can stack Geno if you want to get in there. I prefer right now just going at JSN or a DK. It feels weird. I think I like JSN more for $100, which I did not expect to say at the beginning of the year. But I do want a good piece, or at least one piece of the Seahawks in majority of lineups that'll come with Charbonnet more than likely. And then as far as the other side with the Cardinals, I think I'm going to play some Kyler. I definitely like Trey McBride. He's one of the best tight ends on the slates. The James Conner stuff's harder for me to get to because just running back is so loaded. And I can't remember. Who did we like? Oh, Tony Pollard in that last game. Like, just give me the Tony Pollard leverage more for 300 less than Conner if having to pick. And again, running back so loaded. Conner's a usage monster in a dome, 3-point favorite. So would I be shocked if he gets there? No. We just listed probably 9 running backs on the slate so far. You can't miss. I prefer the passing game with Kyler. He has the rushing upside. Marvin Harrison, fine at 6K. They talked about it last week, wanting to get his targets up. They did do that, not in the first half. Second half, he did get there, though. Then I will say Michael Wilson, too. If you are stacking some of these Cardinals, I mean, just like a Nick Westbrook at Kine for the Levis stuff, Michael Wilson with Kyler, nobody's going that cheap at receiver. You get the really low-owned pairing with Kyler, you can play him with McBride, run it back with either Charbonnet, which is like you're already getting different there, so you can eat chalk. Or DK JSN. So I like the game. I'm going to have individual pieces for sure. How much I'll stack it, I don't know. I'm going to do some Cardinal stuff, but I'm interested in hear what you two say about it too.
I'm playing both these guys. I'm not deciding.
Okay.
I'm playing Kyler with Harrison and McBride. I like your Michael Wilson call if I was going to somebody different there, but the Harrison stuff, everyone was so mad last week. He had 7 targets in the first half, just didn't connect. Everyone was all pissed off about the coach speak, ended up with 12. Pretty bad game and still put up like 17 or 18. He's 6K. Like that's a great week. 12 targets. I don't really see a major difference actually between Harrison and McBride and Bowers and Myers as the combo pack, but you're allowed to play all of them. You can play all 4 of those together and then play Kyler instead of Aiden O'Connell and just get it that way and catch all the passes from Myers and Bowers and then get in on the Harrison Jr. and McBride stuff if they have a big game here. So I like this matchup. I like the spot in Arizona. I don't know, Hoop, what do you think? Like this ownership, I know that Charbonnet got the ownership picked up, but it feels like everybody else is really kept in check overall. I think McBride's next up to Bowers though, right? Like it looks like McBride is definitely going to be still the guy, but if you can play him with Bowers or you can play him instead of, and then I would like McBride in mini stacks with Jacoby Myers, even though they're not in the same game, just because you're saying McBride beats Bowers, therefore hopefully it's Myers. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of in lockstep with you guys. I mean, obviously Charbonnet is a phenomenal play on the slate, like Title said. I mean, there's no competition. He gets all the work. They'll throw passes to him. With Kenneth Walker out, the one thing that I changed in my lineups is I did shift to some of this Geno stuff. They don't have a guy that they're just going to hand it off to, 20 sometimes. They're willing to give Kenneth Walker tons of carry. They have to be passing more today. They have to be. And you have direct guys with them, low ownership, JSN and Metcalf. I'm good with either. I mean, no strong preference, I guess. I mean, JSN's been really, really good. It is crazy to say he's $100 more and you like him equally or if not more than DK Metcalf, but that's kind of where we're at. Tyler Lockett, 4,300. Like I'll play some of him too in those Geno teams. So a lot you can do on the Seattle side. I like all those pieces. And then you have the solid run backs. Yes, McBride's going to get ownership, but I'm with Tambo on Marvin Harrison. Like, why not Marvin Harrison? I mean, he's going to be what ownership do we have him at? It's got to be pretty low. Do you have that up there? It's got to be a low number, right?
For Harrison right now, showing 7 or 8.
Yeah. So if you're building a bunch of teams, you play him, 10 or more, you're way over the field, and he just correlates really good. I mean, the reason I like these Arizona guys so much on these Geno teams, like Trey McBride just gets peppered when they're playing from behind. So love him. I mean, he's just such a great run back. Marvin Harrison, I'm fine with. I am playing the Kyler Murray stuff as well. And then James Conner. It is tough to get like way overweight on James Conner today, to be honest with you. Like we've recommended a lot of running backs. I'm going to play them, but it will honestly probably be a little less than the field. I'm hoping that this is more of a passing game on both sides. I'm hoping we see a lot of passing from Geno. I'm hoping we see a lot of passing from Kyler. That's how I'm going to play this. Again, I will have Connor because I'm in on this game on all sides, so I'm not going to just say, all right, I'm in on everything besides Connor. I want him in there too. He can catch passes as well, but this is a nice game. I mean, a very nice game. And, yeah, we know Charbonnet is going to be very highly owned. And McBride will get ownership as well, but everything else is coming in check. So I like this one quite a bit.
Yeah, appreciate you, Eric. The thing about last game is it's not this game. That's the good news, right? So we got to go bounce back. He did have 12 targets. He still got the action. They showed signs of wanting to go through him. I like that. I like Title's call it. If you don't want to go to him, go to Michael Wilson or something if you like that. But McBride, I just don't think you have to pick between the two. And Hoop really made the same case on the other side. And Title was interested too. If you're leveraging up over Charbonnet, is you still have a Geno at only 5,800. You're in the dome in Arizona. Like everything looks good there. And at 63 and 62, when most are choosing for 12-5, one of those guys can put up 30. The other can put up 20. That's 50 points. Like that's definitely possible between those two. We've seen it plenty of times. It would make Geno pop off. And then you could actually have McBride or just fill out the rest of your wide receiver slots and do the Geno, JSN, Metcalf, Marvin Harrison Jr., and be able to still get like a Bowers or something probably because it's still pretty balanced at that point. So looking at builds like that, if you want to fit in some of the other chalk, you might have to go to like a random one-off at wide receiver or a cheaper D. I was looking at some of my builds here, but I definitely like both sides of this game. And usually a game like this is getting a lot more action. For some reason, the total is lower than expected for this setup, right? In this environment, what the teams do, how they play, this could really speed up quickly. I know it can go the other way too. I'm just saying, talking out loud, it can speed up pretty quickly with some of the guys on both sides of this game. So we'll see how it plays out. Hoop, I'll go to you for this and we'll stick to you. There's 2 games left. See what we got here for the like button. If we get the stone up for any of these games, are we close? 363. They're really trying. But this is a game they might want to see it for. This is an interesting spot, Hoop. Josh Allen is kind of the only expensive quarterback on this slate outside of Hurts, obviously, but people think Hurts game ends early. So, and they don't know if it's going to be Barkley or whatever, but any interest in Josh Allen here going up against the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, I just think a lot of people will go cheap at quarterback. I mean, it's been the trend for so many weeks now. I'm going to keep trying to play these high-end expensive guys and see if it works. I mean, the issue with Josh Allen is, do you want to stack? Do you not want to stack? He's fine. He's fine naked. Like, I don't mind if I'm playing Josh Allen. What I would do is say, set up a group in Josh Allen teams. I want either one of his pass catchers or one of the Rams pass catchers. I want either Amari Cooper or Shakir or Dawson Knox or Puka or Cooper Kupp. Just give me something in this game with Josh Allen, and I'll play it that way. And that's how I am going to play it today. So I'm good with him. I'm good with Shakir, good with, I guess, Amari Cooper, and then Dawson Knox, cheap tight end without Kincaid. So I am going to force in. You got to force it in, though. That's the thing. Like, I'm going to force in some of the Josh Allen stacks. Like, you're not going to just naturally get it because of the way the slate sets up. So I'm in on it. On the Rams side, it's just really Puka and Kupp for me, and I really won't be playing anything else. Kyron Williams. I mean, the problem with these running backs today is I've named off a lot that I like. I've named off a lot that I like, and I just can't play everyone. You'd be doing yourself a disservice by playing everyone. I have I have low owned guys that I like. I just can't play these guys. If it's James Cook, if it's Kyron Williams today, it's not going to be for me. I'm not going to be playing them. So I'm hoping for passing here or Josh Allen, I guess, is what I'm looking at.
And should know too. I think that's the same case for me, and I'm guessing for most. But that's what it is the my trademark from 2023. It's a late swap opportunity. It's an opportunity to late swap where if you're done and you've got a few pieces in these other games, but your morning busted, you should be very interested at that point in the James Cooks and Kyron Williams of the world. If you can get there, the Cups. Plays like that where there's opportunity that you could get different and maybe find yourself to slide into a min cash or who knows, depending on the field size that you're in. And I'll also note before going to you, Title, the other thing I was in. So on Friday when I was doing the show with Mayo, they'd actually upgraded the status on Kincaid, but now it's I think he's doubtful, right? At this point, he's going to be done. So it's like that, or he might even be out by now. So the take is, it's Dawson Knox in there. So does that change anything for you, Title, or do you have any thoughts on Josh Allen and then just the whole game as a whole after that?
Man, it's tough for me. Like, it's a big boy price tag, and then how to play him, like Hoop said, is another big problem. I don't think I'm going to get to much Josh, but they're implied for 27 points. He always has 2 rushing touchdown upside. Like, everyone knows the upside, and spending up at quarterback actually in the past weeks has done good because of like Jaden Daniels for the most part. I think I can remember 230 pieces. So he definitely has that upside. For me, it's really just one-offs. It's Puka's my favorite play in the game. One of my favorite plays on the slate. He's just a complete monster. Ownership will say somewhat in check. Totally good in the afternoon. Like Puka climbing you up the leaderboards sounds pretty tasty to me. Other side, Khalil Shakir, right in that mid-tier. Always a better play on DraftKings to the full point PPR. FanDuel's price is still in check though. And then Keon Coleman's questionable in this game too. He's missed the last 3. I don't think it impacts Shakir too much since he's slot. Keon's outside, but that is also interesting to note if you had to maybe late swap stuff, like an Amari Cooper would get a little bump, something like that. As far as Knox stuff, tight end's just so good today. Like McBride, Bowers underpriced, Otten, Hawkinson, etc. I think I want a big score. Can Knox do it? Yeah, maybe, but I hope not. I'm not going to have much.
They've been asking lately, Hoop, for the Hooper Pooper Scooper play of the day. What if it's the 1 Allen, 2 Coopers that you need here? You go Amari in with Allen, you get Cooper Kupp on the other side. You can get to Nakua, I guess, but I do think there is a good spot here for the afternoon, and I've set some lineups up for that because I want to be able to get to this, especially if some of the morning stuff busts. Allen, Cooper, Nakua, Cooper Kupp, whatever you want to do on the other side. If you want Kyron, I do think that's something. But before we go to the last game, Hoop, did you get a piece of shit play of the day? What was the one?
Yeah, he took the easy way out. He took a hurt guy that might not even play.
Don't click on neighbors. That's what I said. I mean,
oh yeah. I forgot about that.
It wasn't a hot take, but I mean, it was the play.
It was a take.
Yeah, it was a take. Yeah.
He called the shit poop. Remember the
shit poop? Yeah, so good.
That's such a good scene. But yeah, the I don't know, like the late swap stuff here. But the last game is another important one to talk about, and I'll check the likes real quick. while I'm doing that, let me see what we got here. We got 377. They're going to miss it. I called him Snoop Dogg. Hoop, you'll love this. I know your wife will love this. Dating it back. You go to the parties. You got, rolling down the street, smoking the Isaac Garindo, sipping on gin and juice. Yeah, laid back. Let's go. We got Garindo, baby, getting in there at 5,400. And what's going on with him? Like, is he going to, still get the super ownership, even with everybody flipping to the Charbonnet and just put them both in? Or is it now a spot where he gets a little bit held in check because he was going to be super popular? Feels like more people are trying to talk themselves out of it later in the week.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come down a little bit with the Charbonnet, emergence. But man, just one other side note: maybe stick to just like saying your one-liners as opposed to singing them. I think we'd be much better off saying over singing.
Do that. Let's see somebody else. What show you watching out there where the host is singing poorly about a rap song with Snoop Dogg?
It was good. It was definitely good. Yeah, it definitely was good. But man, I think
baby smoking that Garindo pack. There's my guy.
Yeah, he's gonna get ownership, obviously, but it's less now that we have Charbonnet in play. Yeah, that kind of rhymes. Charbonnet in play. So I'm good with him at 54. Debo, I like. Jennings is a really good play at 52. The question I have on this one is: do you go in on Purdy as well? Like, are we playing Purdy? Like, he's a guy I'm like kind of deciding on, but it's like, man, it's like seems like good potential leverage off of Garindo. You have clear guys to pair him with: Samuel, Jennings, maybe a little Kittle. So I want to get you guys' take on the Purdy stuff. And then honestly, the Bears stuff too. I'm open on this game. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I could end up playing Caleb Williams and Purdy or not playing them. I'm like wide open. I'm fine with Keenan Allen at 56. He's looked pretty solid, but this is the game I'm struggling with the most. I'm kind of glad we're finishing with it because I need your guys' help on this one. I don't have a strong take on this one.
I need titles help on this one. So luckily I'm the hosting. I can just flip it right over like that. So maybe I'll do a better job once Title gives his thoughts, and then I can try and frame them up together. I do have some, but man, it is a tricky one here, and it's an interesting game to end the slate. So Title, kick it over to you. Bears 49ers.
Yeah, I prefer so many other quarterbacks. Like, give me Geno, Kyler, who else? Jameis, Kirk Cousins. Like, there's just so many other quarterbacks on the slate. Purdy a little banged up. I think they're going to try and keep it on the ground with Shanahan. Like, even though it's Garindo, it could be some random ninth stringer with their offensive line, with Shanahan's scheme. If you're in the NFL, obviously you're somewhat good. Running back's is the easiest to replace in the league at any position. It's very schematic. I think Garindo going to be just fine. I think he's a strong play. The Debo stuff is like, earlier in the week, I'm like, man, Debo at this price on their third string running back, like, how is it not Debo? It has been so bad this year. And looking at the receiving and rushing prop, Jawan Jennings still is 1 yard higher than Debo. And obviously, Jawan's not doing any rushing. Jawan is Brock Purdy's number one. Like, it really seems like that watching it. Debo plus 160 to score, 57.5 rushing and receiving. I'm going to play some. I thought I was going to be higher earlier in the week, though, just the price and how it's all setting up. It has just been disappointing. I will say, though, Jawan is going to be popular. Garindo's going to be popular. Debo is good leverage off of both of them. Yeah. So that makes it a little like, yeah, I'm going to play him for that reason mainly, but it has been disappointing eye test-wise, just results. But I'm not going to go – there's a lot of quarterbacks on the slate I think we made a case for. In my 5 teams, neither of these two are going to get it. I do think Keenan Allen, he's had definitely, obviously, the last 2 weeks, a really good rapport with Keenan, though. So I think he's fine as a one-off. Going Garindo, Keenan, Debo, Keenan, Jawan, Keenan. I think DJ Moore is fine. I don't love the Swift stuff as much due to running backs being so strong. But, no, I don't love the quarterbacks as much. I don't love this game as much. My favorite play is Garindo, Debo, Jawan, for sure, mainly one-offs.
The Debo call just has to be good. Like, it's right there. If you got late swap options later on, that's the one you can go to. He's coming in. He's $700 more than Jennings. People say he sucks now, and he's right there. And the other thing, too, is like, I struggle with Kittle in this one. So it's I kind of feel like I have to go to Debo in the middle there, and he's showing 1/4, 1/3, of the ownership of Jennings for just $700 more. You can usually find $700. Not like it's nothing, but it's not like it's crazy. It's less than $1,000. You can move some things around if you have to get there for the afternoon stuff. So I don't know. The other thing before I kick it back to Hoop to see if he took anything away is like the Caleb Williams stuff I have interest in. It's how can I get different with Garindo? Play Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen and do that. Like I still think there's a spot here to have. He's been better of the last couple games. It's not ideal, but it's also not very expensive, and it fits the same build mold of almost all the other spots that people are landing. Like if it's the Will Levis stuff, it fits the Jameis Winston shells, it fits some of the other ones. So I think that's kind of the interesting part for me. It's just the Caleb Williams side pops a little bit more than for other spots at least, and it's a way to play those guys different. Hoop, what's your thoughts now, hearing everything rounded out?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be on it, both sides. I think I am going to play Purdy just because I'm playing Jennings. I'm playing Debo for sure. Quarterback is somewhat weak, so I think I'm on that. And then Caleb Williams, he's done really well, like not necessarily in garbage time, but just like at the end of these games. And he has two direct guys, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. So I guess I like it a little bit more than I initially kind of let off. Yeah, I'll be on it. And the one thing that stands out to me is like the teams like the 49ers are always tough. Like that ton of success last year, made it to the Super Bowl, and they're having a terrible year. At some point, teams like this just like give up. Like they're going to have to just give up at some point. That scares me on their side, but also boosts the Bears' potential in this game, because at some point the Niners are just going to say, all right, we're done. This sucks. We've been to the Super Bowl last year. We're not going to make it to the playoffs this year, and just like give in. So I don't know. I mean, I'm all over the place kind of on this game. So it's a tough one for me.
It's good for the late swap stuff too, though. Like I just can't imagine the Bears being popular. I can't imagine Debo being very popular. Like we talked about Kittle, some of those guys, like that's just a roundup of it. But even on the other spots, like Lockett, Michael Wilson, we talked about like DK and JSN, any of those guys. And then you go to the Bills-Rams game, there's a ton of options that aren't getting any ownership. So lots of ways to get different in the afternoon if morning stuff busts, where there actually is still good floor ceiling combinations that can rack up for you, where if you kind of just down a little bit, but you can't play all the chalk in the afternoon now, there's other spots that you can go to that I think are pretty good. So cool. Title, any final thoughts from you? Anything else you want to bring up here before we get out of here?
Man, it's a good slate. It's a really good slate. I'm struggling to narrow down my, again, I focus on the 5 QB hand builds. From there, I'm definitely fine spreading it out. I think there's plenty of different ways to go. Running back, we try to keep it a little tighter. There's a lot of very strong plays, and then a lot of receiver will depend on what I do at receiver and tight end. Well, what I do at quarterback, and Hoop mentioned it really early in the show, and I think it's really clear as we talk about it. Like there's games that we like. I think there's a lot of cases you can make on both sides. So I think I will be using a lot of run backs, secondary sacks, stuff like that in today's slate. 10 games. You hope a couple of them go nuclear, and you're more oversacking it lineups like that. So that's all I got. Week 14, man, crazy, but let's make some money.
Yeah, should be a good one. I like that call out too. It was kind of what I was thinking of earlier. In some of these spots, you just overstack the spot and hope that you get the game right. And even if you do fill it in with the pieces around it that are more popular, how many people have 5-6 guys from one game? So Hoop, any final thoughts from you, man, before we get out of here?
No, I mean, it was a good show talking through everything with you guys, and definitely changed, some of what I'm doing today. I mean, the big change for me is going to be more Miami offense. Then I kind of anticipated I was on it a little bit. Now I'm going to be on it more than a little bit. I really like that conversation in that game. So that's my biggest takeaway from the show today is getting more on the Miami side of things. We know where the ownership is going at the running back position. But everything else should be pretty spread out. I mean, there's no like clear stacks that everyone's going to. I mean, it's going to be spread out, and I will, kind of stick with what I initially said. I think some sort of game stack, whether it's an over stack or, quarterback with a wide receiver and then a run back on the other side. I think a game stack is going to be on the winner today.
Yeah, I think a game stack or, that plus I think, like I said, the combo pack of another team where people mostly put it with the quarterback or something is going to be what we see come through. So great show. Appreciate everybody. Yeah, we hit 400 at the end. We did, but it's over. We missed the boat. Sorry. The ship took off. The rocket ship is on its way to the money moon, and we're going to get those winners today. So we appreciate everybody watching. Check out ShipItNation.com. We already showed you, but go to single sport, rest of season through Super Bowl, $99 up to $129. If you want to get Shiptimizer, if you do want to check out the tutorials to see what Shiptimizer is all about, you can go do that for free on ShipItNation.com. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. For Hoop, for Title, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it!